This is Jim. Jim is a U.S. farmer who grows soybeans, corn, canola, and cotton along with other cash crops. Jim's farm is the primary source of his family's income. However, recently Jim has been having problems with bugs eating and laying eggs in his crops. To combat this problem, Jim has been thinking about using pesticides on his plants. But after doing some simple research about pesticides, Jim decides that using pesticides would be bad for his plants, the environment, and bad for those who consume his plants. Jim decides to research other ways to keep bugs away from his plants and finds genetically modified organisms. He sees that GMOs have actually been utilized since nomadic times and are very natural. Jim decides to purchase some genetically modified plants that have been modified to have larger concentrations of natural pesticides produced by the plants themselves. Jim finds out that these plants produce a much better crop yield than the non-GM plants and decides to switch his entire output to GM crops. This makes both the environment and Jim very happy. On a global scale, GMOs can have a positive aspect on many developing countries and how they produce food. The population of the planet is expected to rise by 2 billion people by 2050 if reproduction rates remain where they are. GM crops can be utilized to produce more food and feed all of the constantly growing population. An example of how GM crops can help developing nations is seen in the case of golden rice, which is grown in Nigeria, the Philippines, and other nations where vitamin A deficiency is a big problem. Vitamin A deficiency causes blindness and premature death, especially in children. Golden rice was developed specifically to combat this problem by being rich in beta-carotene, which is converted to vitamin A when metabolized by the human body. There's still a lot of research that needs to be done before GMOs can be implemented permanently on a global scale. However, we shouldn't disparage against current GM products just because they're new and unfamiliar. Genetic modification may sound scary and evil, but it's really not. GMOs can help feed our growing population while reducing harmful impacts on the environment, all building towards a stable future global society. If you're still unsure about the process of genetic modification, then get out there and do some research of your own.